1 month ago, Charlie Kirk went on Tucker Carlson's show and warned that we were heading towards a rise in radicalization that would potentially destabilize our country and the world. The question is, what did he see coming? And did his assassination just get us closer to that reality? September 10th, 2025 is now a day I think most of us will never forget. I, like many of you, I'm sure, spent the weekend bouncing between Charlie's content, the horrific assassination, and reactions to the assassination and reactions to the man himself, all while trying to make sense of what was happening in real time. I remember that just a month ago, I watched a full interview with Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk. And there was something in that interview that struck me. Something Charlie said that, looking back now, feels almost impossible to ignore. I came away from that interview feeling that Charlie really cared about the youth of America and how special that was. But also that he was talking about a very real threat looming over our country and sending a warning to us all. Charlie wasn't even gone 24 hours before I started to see an onslaught of clips being circulated in celebration of his assassination. Reactions to those clips, and then clips meant to use Charlie's words to justify his own assassination, saying that he was far right and spread hate speech and misinformation, which immediately made me want to do one thing: grab one of those clips of Charlie saying something provocative, find where it came from, and get the full context. And what I found is that you and I, and the rest of the Western world, are merely pawns in a much bigger game, and that the tools being used are smoke and mirrors, real to us, but a giant manipulation. This clip is a perfect example because what's being used here is being used at scale with many others. Take a look.
You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe.
Now, at face value, that can make Charlie come across as cold and like he was almost flippant about gun violence, which was then spread across all of the internet and social media to justify his assassination because of his disregard for public safety, seemingly, and his advocacy for a citizen's right to own guns. Suddenly, this is being circulated with people mocking his assassination and mocking the irony that he died by gun violence, as if to say that's what he deserved. The truth is, that clip was a lie by omission. It cut out the question he was answering, it cut out the clarification that followed, and it cut out the actual meaning of what he said. Now, let's watch with full context.
How's it going, Charlie? I'm Austin. I just had a question related to Second Amendment rights. We saw the shooting that happened recently, and a lot of people are upset. But I'm seeing people argue for the other side that they want to take our Second Amendment or rights away. How do we convince them that it's important to have the right to defend ourselves and all that good stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. So I'm a big Second Amendment fan, but I think most politicians are cowards when it comes to defending why we have a Second Amendment. This is why I would not be a good politician, or maybe I would, I don't know, but because I actually speak my mind. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. I love hunting. The Second Amendment is not even about personal defense. That is important. The Second Amendment is there, God forbid, so that you can defend yourself against a tyrannical government.
Come on.
And if that talk scares you, wow, that's radical, Charlie. I don't know about that. Well, then you have not really read any of the literature of our founding fathers. Yep. Number two, you've not read any 20th century history. You're just living in Narnia. By the way, if you were actually living in Narnia, you would be wiser than wherever you're living, because C.S. Lewis was really smart. So I don't know what alternative universe you're living in.
Yep.
You just don't want to face reality that governments tend to get tyrannical, and that if people need an ability to protect themselves and their communities and their families. Now, we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price. And that is part of liberty.
Wow.
Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. Wow. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. Wow. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, yes, by having more armed guards in front of schools. Yes. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. True. So then how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings? I don't know. How did we stop shootings at baseball games? Because we have armed guards outside of baseball games. That's why. How do we stop all the shootings at airports? We have armed guards outside of airports. How do we stop all the shootings at banks? We have armed guards outside of banks. How do we stop all the shootings at gun shows? Notice there's not a lot of mass shootings at gun shows. There's all these guns because everyone's armed. If our money and our sporting events and our airplanes have armed guards, why don't our children?
So you see, it's very clear that Charlie wasn't endorsing vigilante justice or even gun violence, but was in fact saying that the right to bear arms was given to us via the Second Amendment from our founding fathers to protect ourselves potentially from a tyrannical government. And then he goes on to suggest solutions to lower the amount of gun deaths by using more armed guards outside of schools, similar to what has been done at sporting events in airports, in banks, and so on. But did you notice how the meaning changes once you get more context? This has been happening to all of us for years now. Clips cut together with context removed, all to hijack our version of reality and skew it in a direction that suits a hidden agenda. Now, here's the real irony and utter tragedy. Charlie valued disagreement. He valued the exchange of ideas, and he valued free speech. His whole mission revolved around that concept, but for a very powerful reason. Hear it from his own words.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do this.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assaults, the left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in all this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put it on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
As I've been watching more and more of his content, I realized just how committed he was to the idea of the town square, open debate. He wanted people to think for themselves, to see through the manipulation, and to debate in real life instead of filtered through screens and phones, warning that that kind of loss of human contact would give a rise to violence. Which brings us back to his Tucker Carlson interview and what Charlie was warning about. In that conversation, he pointed to the pressures facing Gen Z, especially around the economy. But the heart of his warning wasn't just dollars and cents. It was that when a generation feels pushed to the margins, when they lose hope in the system, the result isn't apathy, it's political radicalization. And Charlie's point was clear. That kind of radicalization doesn't just simmer quietly. It becomes the spark for something much bigger. Listen closely to how he put it in his own words.
I think you're the most effective Republican organizer. Certainly among young people you are. And you deal with them and you wade into the crowd and you go to college campuses and you debate people and you have a tactile sense, I think, of what younger voters care about. And so I'll just ask you the obvious question. What do they care about?
So there's a race against the clock that's happening right now. And I think President Trump is uniquely suited to fix it. He has to fix it, which is, can we reorder the economic reality of under 30s before dark political radicalization sets in.
The economic reality.
Correct. So back when they wanted to go buy a home, in their beginning income years, 1970s, 1980s, home prices were on average about 3 times the average income in America. They are now 7 times the average income in America. Rents have gone up inflation adjusted from about $900 a month to now about $1,500 a month.
Inflation adjusted.
Inflation adjusted. The age of a first-time home buyer in 2008 was 30 years old. It is now 38 years old. First-time home buyer. So when we have a picture of a first-time home buyer,
And that's scary.
you think of, kind of a toddler in one arm, a dog, you're trying to figure it out, 38 years old. So what is causing this? Well, number one, I don't want to get like too Ron Paul libertarian, but the Federal Reserve pumping in cheap money post-2008 has just been a catastrophe. We have spent too much money, borrowed too much money. We have deteriorated our currency. And the purchasing power every generation is getting weaker. So your dollar is actually going less and less as far
Yes.
as it has year over year. So then what is the consequence of this? So you have a generation that is renting a lot more than it's owning. So when you do not own something, why would you defend it? So you find then political radicalization start to seep in because an entire generation is getting routinely cynical year over year as their net worth either stays at 0 or goes into negative. This is yet another distress signal by young people to say, hey, if you're not going to fix our life economically, we're going to get very radical politically.
Charlie wasn't just sounding the alarm. He was also pointing us toward a solution. His call was simple. The antidote to radicalization isn't silence or censorship. It's engagement. It's debate. It's real action. It's seeing the other side as human. And I'd go a step further and say it's finding a way back toward the center so we can think clearly about both sides. Less polarization and more understanding. When your feeds are bombarded with these kinds of viral stories, which are coming at us almost every day, go the extra mile, look for the full context, try to understand, learn to think critically. Don't just follow the herd, challenge the herd. And learn how the media in all its forms is influencing how you feel and what you believe. Because if we don't make that effort, we're way more likely to believe in a false reality. And now is not the time to bury our head in the sand. For all of the hate going around the internet and for all of the people focusing on his views rather than the horrible assassination that we collectively witnessed, let me just say this. Charlie Kirk, rest in peace. Thanks for watching. If you liked that video, check out this video next. And if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. I drop a new video every week.